As a preamble to the video that this precedes, I did intend to say that this is in no way a tutorial, not even remotely. There are plenty of tutorials for doing these procedures readily available on YouTube. This is instead intended as a demonstration of what happens when a regular person, I am not a computer professional at all, I'm actually a musician, attempts to do the things that happen in this video. I think it should work out pretty well, but if it doesn't, you have been warned about following my lead. So enjoy. Well, here's something of interest. I just bought a Mac Pro. Why, you may ask? Because I wanted one. I've always wanted one. But I have absolutely no need for such a powerful machine. All right. So why would I throw away $6,000 on the base model of the Mac Pro? I'm not that dumb. What I did was to buy a 2010 cheese grater Mac Pro, which I got for $150 on eBay. Hooray for eBay. So I'm going to introduce it to you now and then talk about it a little bit. Okay, here it is in all of its Mac Pro glory. You can see the USB 2 ports on the front, power button on the front. Now, we'll take a look at some of the rest of this machine. From the side, nice little logo there. You can see the handles at the top and the feet on the bottom. Moving around to the back of the machine. There are more USB ports, 2 Ethernet ports, 2 mini display ports, and a variety of other things. And where the power cord goes in there, you can see that too. All right, and the other side. Pardon me, since I have to be my own cameraman here. Okay, here is the other side. What this gives us, if you take a good look down there at the lower right, you'll see one of the reasons why this machine only cost $150. There is a bent leg down there. That bent leg isn't really affecting anything. It's just there. Okay, so we can take a look inside the machine now. There is a lever on the back. You saw that a little earlier. Flip that down. This side will come right off. All right, the door is off, as you can see. And we can talk about some of the other reasons why this machine only cost $150. You can see down there on the lower right the RAM modules. There's only 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, why anybody would set up a Mac Pro, even in 2010, with 4 gigabytes of RAM is beyond me. You can see this is the base model. It only has the one processor. The fancier model had 2 processors in it. I will have to deal with one. It should be ample for my needs. As I said, I don't really need it. That red thing you see in the middle is the graphics card. It's an old Radeon. I will pretty surely upgrade that later on in this process, quite a bit later on. And you can see up towards the top here the 4 drive sleds. And if I were to pull them out, I won't bother at this point, but if I were to do so, you would find that there's no hard drive in there. Yet another reason. So, that's the beginning of this process of actually having a Mac Pro. Okay, there'll be more to this. In just a bit, I'm going to be putting in a SATA SSD and changing the RAM so that I can go from 4 gig to 32. I've already purchased those. And we'll see that. Hang with me. Okay. While the video was stopped, I installed the RAM. It's not a particularly exciting thing to look at if you've ever installed RAM, a modular RAM into slots. You push it in, the little clips lock, and that's that. All right. Now, as I said, there was no hard drive. You'll see that I have removed one of the sleds. I have here a Silicon Power 512 gigabyte SSD. This is not actually going to stay in this machine. However, I happen to have this. It has another purpose. I'm going to be putting in an NVMe SSD into one of the PCIe slots. There are, I believe, 3 available above the graphics card there. However, this is going to do for now. Now you will see here this nice blue sled, the OWC Mount Pro 2.5. Very handy thing, since of course this machine is designed to accommodate 3.5-inch drives. The SSDs are 2.5-inch. So all we do will be to slide this in, which I guess I'll do now. Hopefully it'll just go right in. Yeah, particularly if I put it in the right way. Okay. Push that in and it seats itself. Easiest thing in the world. And I know clearly which drive bay it is that has the SSD in there when I go to take it out later. I will be putting a 2 terabyte SATA SSD that I've got on order into that slot, which will serve as additional storage to go along with the 1 terabyte NVMe drive. So next step will be to put the cover back on, boot it up, and try to install High Sierra, which is the latest version of the operating system that this machine will run natively. It will run Mojave if and when I decide to update the graphics card, which I probably will, but that's a much more expensive kind of thing. So we'll be back, hopefully with the machine up and running, macOS High Sierra. Well, there have been a few glitches, but it is up and running, I am glad to say. We'll see what the glitches are once we've started up. Hopefully it does start up. So, shall we? There's the boot chime. progress meter. The boot screen is coming up. Things look pretty much as they should. And here we are. And here we are in macOS High Sierra. Now, to get an idea of what's going on here about this Mac. Mac Pro mid-2010, processor 2.8 gigahertz, quad-core Intel Xeon. Now, the memory, 4 gigabytes. I hadn't realized it, but I had purchased 1033 megahertz DDR3 instead of 1066. So we're going to have to go with the 4 gig for now, and by middle of next week, we should have the 32 ready to go. Graphics card, ATI Radeon HD, 5770, 1024 megabytes. It's an old card, but it's certainly doing for now. I intend to upgrade it. Storage, Macintosh SSD. It's actually Silicon Power 512 gigabyte SSD. It's going to end up in a Mac Mini, but it got the machine up and running now. All right. And there's, sadly, is the memory, only 4 gigs. And we take a quick look at the system report. There we see it, Mac Pro 5,1. Exactly what we should have. All right then. Okay, now, what else I have in mind, I'm going to try to do this tonight. I have a little doohickey here. Here we have a crucial 1 terabyte NVMe SSD set to go into a PCIe slot, of which there are 3 available. And I'm going to try putting that in. Whether I get that done tonight or tomorrow, we'll see. But that is the plan as to what comes next. That should be most interesting. Okay, so I'll get to that and I'll get back to you. Well, it's tomorrow already. Some of the glitches that occurred in the work with the Mac Pro. I think I explained already the RAM situation. The processor that I've got in the Mac Pro right now cannot address 1333 RAM, which is what I bought. If I upgrade the processor, that RAM will become good, so I've ordered new RAM. The interesting thing is the system is remarkably quick on 4 gigabytes of RAM. That surprises me, but it is a Mac Pro, old as it is. Other glitches, I had some issues installing High Sierra, having to flash the boot ROM. The first time I did it, it didn't take. And when I tried to install, it seemed like it did. The light flashed, the long tone sounded. But when I tried to install High Sierra, I had to do the firmware flash again. I did it. It worked the second time. So all well and good. I did install the NVMe card in a PCIe slot. That was another glitch. The problem there is that with the current firmware, the computer will not address that NVMe card in the PCIe slot as being bootable. I tried forever to install and operating system. I tried first High Sierra. I tried then a patched version of Mojave from DOS-Dude 1. Neither one would install. I ended up in an endless loop with the DOS-Dude 1 patcher. At one point, I actually got the OS installed, but of course it wouldn't boot. In doing a lot of internet searching, what I finally discovered is that unless I update the firmware again, there's no way it can be made bootable. Updating the firmware involves installing macOS Mojave, which I can't do because I don't have a Metal-capable graphics card. So I ordered a Metal-supported graphics card. It should be here tomorrow, at which point I will put that graphics card in. I will then install Mojave, which will involve flashing the firmware, and we should be good to go. Anyhow, it's been a fascinating adventure, and I've certainly had a lot of fun doing it. Well, thank you, and have a wonderful day.